This video is brought to you by Soundcore. Today we're checking out Soundcore's latest earbud, the Liberty 5. And I don't really know where these buds fit into Soundcore's lineup, because the retail price is $129 US, same retail price as the Liberty 4 Pro. They're also slightly more expensive than the Liberty 4 NC, so I'll compare those three buds as well as the old Liberty 4. And I'll of course be scoring and ranking them against 39 earbuds in a total of 10 categories. So let's get into it. Category 1 is comfort. And I'm scoring the Liberty 5 an 8 out of 10 as it's your usual stem style fit. It's exactly the same design and ergonomics as the Liberty 4 Pro. You do get 4 nice color options here, and you get 6 sizes of ear tips from extra small to extra large. Now it is a moderately deep fit here, as you can kind of tell from the driver shaft. It's not the lightest feel in the ear, but it's gonna fit most people quite well. Now with the security of the fit, I'm also scoring them an 8 out of 10. They stay in great for me when I was weight training or running. The slightly deeper fit works better for me, so I found I didn't even need to readjust the earbuds much at all throughout my workouts. And if you like using your earbuds when training, you get an IP55 dust and water resistant rating, the first of the Soundcore Liberty buds with dust resistance. So they're fine for a sweaty workout, use in the rain, or if you're on a dusty work site. Now category 3 is case and battery. I'm scoring the Liberty 5 an 8.5. You get an advertised 12 hours on the buds, 48 hours in total with noise cancelling off, 8 hours and 32 hours with noise cancelling on. So these numbers are on the higher side. You get slightly more than the Liberty 4 Pro. Chuck the buds in the case for 10 minutes as well, you get 5 hours of playback on the earbuds. You can also charge the case wirelessly. Now you can see here the case is slightly more compact compared to the Liberty 4 Pro. They have the same moderate thickness, so here it is compared to the thinnest case on my ranking, the AirPods Pro 2. The only thing missing here is a display on the case the Liberty 4 Pro have, but not a huge issue. I found I never really used it anyway. Now category 4 is controls, and I'm scoring the Liberty 5 a 7.5, as this is a bit of a downgrade here. So you get squeeze controls with a single, double, triple tap and long hold. The sensitivity of the squeeze control is a bit hit and miss though. Sometimes I would go for a squeeze and nothing would happen. So it's not as responsive as buds like the AirPods Pro 2, Nothing Ear, Galaxy Buds 3 Pro. I found even the Liberty 4 Pro has more responsive squeeze controls. I think the click feedback also needs to be a bit louder. I would sometimes go for a double press and triple press, and I couldn't hear if it was actually responding or not. You also don't get swipe controls here, which the Liberty 4 Pro do have. I think this is a major loss. You can still control volume on the buds and add that into whatever function you like. I think the double press will work the best, but it's just not that intuitive compared to swipe controls. If you add volume to the long hold, if you hold down, it's not going to continually increase or decrease volume. You need to hold, wait for your volume to change, and then hold again. So again, not very intuitive. You also don't get speak to chat here, which the Liberty 4 Pro does have. Not a huge issue for me. I find I never really use it anyway, but it's not there. You can still save separate controls when you're using one earbud at a time, and that'll save separate to when you use both earbuds at the same time. You get wearing detection here to automatically pause and play your music. Takes a couple seconds to react, but it works well. And if you have noise cancelling on, it will turn off the noise cancelling with the earbud that's still in your ear. A new feature here though is that you can now mute your microphone using the controls when you're on a phone call. You can do so with a single tap on either earbud, and I think this is the first Soundcore earbud that allows you to do this. You're still not able to switch between noise cancelling and transparency when you're on a phone call. You can do so in the app while you're on a phone call though, but there is a new kind of self-voice feature you can activate in the app, which will automatically turn on the transparency mode every time you answer a call. And another new feature here is the ability to take photos using the controls in your earbuds. You can set that to a single tap only. Just keep in mind, when you set that up, you are going to lose that single press function. When I wasn't taking a photo, it would adjust volume up and down kind of randomly, and then one time it turned the volume up to 100%. So that needs to be sorted out. Now, category 5 is connectivity. I'm scoring them an 8.5 out of 10. So you get Bluetooth 5.4, SBC, AAC, LDAC high res, and Google Fast Pair. You can use either earbud with the other in the case, but it's not going to work in mono mode, so you're not going to hear the left and right audio channel out of the one earbud. It's kind of a Soundcore thing, but the Liberty 4 Pro did work in mono mode, so don't know what's going on there. But you do get multi-point connection, so you can have 2 devices connected to the earbuds at the same time. And it also uses multi-point takeover, so you don't even need to pause playback on one device before playing it on your other device. The audio will automatically switch over. And you are able to use LDAC high res with multi-point connection, but just keep in mind your connection might get a bit choppy in busier environments. You also get a low latency gaming mode, which you can't use with LDAC, but I noticed that brought the latency down ever so slightly. It was honestly pretty hard to notice a difference. Still, on my iPhone 15 Pro, the latency without the low latency game mode was okay if you're into quick reaction games like shooters. Now, category 6 is call quality. I've run through 3 tests here: a quiet room, simulation crowd noise, and a simulation windy city with construction noise. So here's the scoring for all the earbuds. I've got the Liberty 5 with an 8.5 out of 10. On my spreadsheet, they're only slightly behind the Liberty 4 and 4 Pro. It's actually in the quiet room test where the Liberty 5 isn't as rich, but the call quality is much better than the Liberty 4 NC, especially with wind. So I'll leave you with some samples now, comparing all the soundcore buds and the highest ranked Technics AZ100. All right, here's the call quality of the Soundcore Liberty 4 in a quiet room. All right, here is the call quality of the Soundcore Liberty 4 NC in a quiet room. All right, here's the call quality of the Soundcore Liberty 4 Pro in a quiet room. All right, so here is a call quality of the Soundcore Liberty 5 in a quiet room. All right, here is a call quality of the Technics AZ100 in a quiet room. All right, now let's see how the microphones block out some simulation crowd noise. All right, here is a call quality of the Soundcore Liberty 4 with some simulation crowd noise. All right, here is a call quality of the Soundcore Liberty 4 NC with some simulation crowd noise. All right, here is a call quality of the Soundcore Liberty 4 Pro with some simulation crowd noise. All right, here's the call quality of the Soundcore Liberty 5 with some simulation crowd noise. All right, here is a call quality of the Technics AZ100 with some simulation crowd noise. All right, now I have some city noise, some construction noise, and some simulation wind. All right, here's the call quality of the Soundcore Liberty 4 with some city noise, construction noise, and simulation wind. All right, here is the call quality of the Soundcore Liberty 4 NC with some city noise, construction noise, and simulation wind. All right, here is the call quality of the Soundcore Liberty 4 Pro with some city noise, construction noise, and simulation wind. All right, here is the call quality of the Soundcore Liberty 5 with some city noise, some construction noise, and some simulation wind. All right, here is the call quality of the Technics AZ100 with some city noise, construction noise, and some simulation wind. All right, category 7 is app customization and extra features. And I'm scoring the Liberty 5 an 8 out of 10. I'll touch on all the features here and go into a bit more detail later. So the home page has your battery and ambient sound control. Sound effects has your spatial audio toggle, hearing preference test, tons of EQ presets, a solid 8-band EQ. There's also a Hear ID sound test that measures your left and right ear individually, which I'll cover later. You've got the control customization I ran through, your low latency toggle, and the settings tab at the top right has your smaller extras like the auto transparency mode when you answer a call. Wearing detection toggle, you got sound leakage compensation that will adjust the sound if the earbuds don't have a proper seal. With safe volume, you can see how loud you're listening and set limits in there. You have some prompt tone toggle options, connected devices, an ear tip fit test, some auto power off options, a Find My Buds feature that will emit a beep from the earbuds. You can also set widgets on iOS or Android. And that's everything. It's a solid app, the UI is great and it runs smoothly. All right, now category 8 is noise cancelling and how I test my noise cancelling. I chuck on my soundbar nice and loud and play simulation plain noise and crowd noise. So I'm getting low, middle, high, consistent and inconsistent sounds. And here's my scoring. The Liberty 5 are getting an 8.5 out of 10. Half a point higher than the Liberty 4 Pro. Between those two buds, it was neck and neck in the plain noise test and the crowd noise test. It was kind of hard to notice the difference, but it was at the gym where I noticed the Liberty 5 block out more of that gym music, which is what I'm trying to do so I can listen to my own music. So very impressive ANC for the price. Now I don't have the Liberty 4 NC on this ranking, but their noise cancelling is only slightly behind the 4 Pro. So comparing the 4 NC to the Liberty 5, the 5 blocks out voices maybe 10% better, and comparing the Liberty 4 to the Liberty 5, it's about a 15% difference. Now when it comes to EQ shift, your sound quality changing between noise cancelling, transparency, and noise cancelling off. Going from noise cancelling to transparency, there's barely any shift, which is what we want to see. With noise cancelling off, I noticed about a 10% bass increase and a 5% upper, mid, and treble reduction. So they sound the best with either noise cancelling or transparency on. You also have an automatic wind reduction toggle you can turn on. So if the microphones pick up too much wind, it's automatically going to turn the noise cancelling off. And it usually takes about 5 to 8 seconds for the noise cancelling to turn back on when no more wind is detected, same as the Liberty 4 Pro. And the microphones do pick up wind, but it's on the moderate side. You're also able to use noise cancelling with one earbud while leaving the other in the case. Just keep in mind, by default, you can't activate noise cancelling using the controls until you go into the app and you can change the individual earbud setting in there. All right, now category 9 is the transparency mode. And this is Soundcore's best transparency mode. I'm scoring the Liberty 5 an 8.5, half a point up from the Liberty 4 Pro. So the clarity is great, it's a pretty natural sound. There's a very minimal amount of occlusion, which was an issue on the Liberty 4 Pro. So I barely get any of that kind of blocked ear effect, and my own voice sounds very natural. And I'd put the 4NC almost on the same level of transparency as the 4 Pro. Compared to the Liberty 4 though, it's a pretty noticeable improvement overall. There's still obviously better transparency modes out there. So those higher ranked buds are just a little bit clearer, especially if I'm talking to someone. And all the soundcore buds do have a pretty noticeable amount of white noise hiss. Still, you're only really going to notice it in a quiet environment. That's where a bud like the AirPods Pro 2 are ranked 10 out of 10 because they have barely any white noise and they just sound very clear and natural. I also like that there's no settings you need to change on the Liberty 5. It's just one mode. It works very well. You don't need to adjust the strength, which is what the AirPods Pro do. It's just a good transparency mode without needing to customize it. A small issue though, if you have facial hair, even what I have now, it's like sort of stubbly, it's not too much. The mics are at the bottom of the stem, so they kind of rub against my jaw if I'm speaking or like eating or just like moving my jaw around. The mics pick up that sound slightly. It's like not too annoying, definitely not a deal breaker, but worth mentioning if you might find that annoying. But now onto the final round, sound quality. Starting with my max volume test, Liberty 5 got 123.9 decibels, which makes them the loudest out of all the earbuds I've tested, so plenty of volume. But now onto the sound quality itself, and like pretty much all soundcore earbuds, the stock tuning is a bit meh. With the Liberty 5, the bass is a little bit over the top and boomy. The upper mids and treble are also a bit muted. And even with that, I still noticed some sibilance with S in vocals. So I played around with the sound a ton. I did everything you can do in the app. I started with the hearing test that measures your left and right ear individually. And I thought this changed the sound, but it's kind of hard to tell. So I ran through it once and made my left ear like close to deaf and my right ear normal. And this won't change the tuning to match your ears. So then I ran through the hearing test normally, and I don't think it actually changes the tuning. What will actually change the tuning is the hearing preference test, which will just make an EQ for you. And that preference test actually worked quite well. It basically boosted everything I wanted, the upper mids and the treble and the mid slightly. So the buds sound much better, but that sibilance is slightly more noticeable as well. So here's my Frankenstein EQ to kind of try to improve the overall clarity while also trying to dial down that sibilance, and I think it kind of works. So with this EQ, it's still a pretty bass boosted tuning as normal for soundcore earbuds. It's a powerful bass response. The sub bass kicks in hard, but by slightly dialing it down, it's not bloated or over the top. The mids here are great. You get forward but natural vocals. And the upper mids with my boosting really improves the detail of instruments, especially distorted guitars. They were quite muted with the stock EQ. And the treble here is fine. That 6 kilohertz reduction is not what I wanted to do, but I think I needed to do it to reduce that sibilance. So the upper treble boosting balances out this reduction, which still gives a pretty crisp treble response. It's just nothing special. And with Soundstage, it's not the most expansive sound. I'd say it's on the average side. So overall, once you play around with the sound, you can get them sounding pretty decent. Now this is the same situation with the Liberty 4 Pro. The stock tuning is a bit of a mess, bloated bass and slightly harsh treble. So with both buds, after I EQ them to my liking, I find the 4 Pro has a slightly more direct sound when it comes to treble and upper mids. The Liberty 5 is slightly more of a laid back tuning. Now if we throw it back to the Liberty 4, they also needed a lot of EQ. I think the 4 Pro and 5 have the slight edge when it comes to vocals and overall instrument separation. And with the Liberty 4 NC, again, after a decent amount of EQing, they're pretty close in sound to the 4 Pro and 5. It's just the mids and upper mids that stand out slightly better on the 4 Pro and the 5. Now you do get some spatial audio here. It's Dolby audio this time around. You don't get head tracking, but this is Soundcore's best spatial audio, I could say. It still has like a bit of reverb and strange effects with kick drums. Everything sounds a little bit strange. There's a movie mode. I found when watching movies, it still added too much reverb to voices. So it is Soundcore's best implementation of it, but it's still spatial audio. I never use it. But that wraps up all 10 categories. And if you want to customize the scoring, I've got a free spreadsheet link below. You can compare all the earbuds easily. You've got specs, core quality tab, and you can personalize the scoring for each category, and you get a new custom ranking in order of highest score to lowest score. But the final scores are in, and the Liberty 5 finished in the tied 8th spot with 81.5 out of 100. So a pretty solid score for the price you're paying. But this is an interesting one because it's priced the same as the Liberty 4 Pro and do have small advantages like slightly better noise cancelling and transparency, but the core quality is slightly worse, and the controls with that lack of swipe gesture and the poor sensitivity is the most noticeable downgrade. You also don't get a screen in your case, but that's really not a big one, so it's very close between the two buds. Now, if you own the Liberty 4 and are thinking of upgrading, you do get a moderate upgrade with noise cancelling, transparency, and sound quality. It's definitely not a massive upgrade though. Now, compared to the Liberty 4 NC, you'll probably be able to get that much cheaper than the Liberty 5, and they do get pretty close in overall quality. The only issue with the 4 NC is the core quality in windy conditions. Now, another worthy comparison is the OnePlus Buds Pro 3, slightly more expensive, but they are better when it comes to controls, comfort, transparency, and sound quality. So there you go, this is another solid earbud from Soundcore, but it's not an easy recommendation from me. Maybe because I'm super picky about controls and the no swipe controls, it got to me. But let me know what you think in the comments. For more on soundcore though, be sure to check out this video right here. Thanks for tuning in, stay picky, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye now.